What's up, guys? Kevin here, and today we're going to try to answer the question of why we even have to file taxes, particularly because in my experience, I've had the government correct my taxes for me. A couple years ago, I submitted my tax forms and it was showing that I was supposed to get a really good refund, but to my surprise, they actually deposited less money in my account. And then a few days later, I received a letter where they informed me that based on the calculations they had, they were not going to approve the refund that I had calculated, and they had found basically a mistake in the paperwork. Now, that's all good and well, but it also begs the question, if you guys are already doing the math, why do I have to pay to submit paperwork just so you can say, okay, we'll give you your money? So since then, of course, I've done more research and I have a better understanding of what is actually being accomplished here. So I want to share that info with you guys in this video, and let's just jump into it. Now, your taxes are primarily based on your income. There's a number called your adjusted gross income, and this is what you're trying to calculate first when you're filing your taxes. Now, the way that you calculate that is really simple. It's how much money you made minus how many deductions or credits you qualify for. So you should be able to determine an actual amount that's getting taxed, and then running it through a tax calculator, you can determine how much taxes you owe and if you either overpaid or underpaid the year before. So I think this is pretty straightforward. You know, most of us just get a W-2 from our employer and it says this is how much you were paid, this is how much you gave the government. You put that in the form, determine your deductions, and it says this is how much you should have paid, and you figure out how to manage the difference. But the reality is not everybody is a W-2 employee, and a lot of people make money outside of their W-2s. And so this is kind of my first point. If the government is expecting you to be open and honest about how much income you made. So even though they know that you made a certain amount from your main employer, they want to make sure that you didn't make any extra money. Maybe you were doing freelance work, maybe you got tips, or you sold some stuff on Facebook Marketplace and got cash for it. So they want you to tell them if there's anything that they missed. The one that I always chuckle at is where it says, did you make any purchases that didn't ask for sales tax? Which I think is a really interesting thought, because there was a long time where you would place orders on eBay, Amazon, basically any online retailer, and nobody would pay sales tax. And I'm pretty confident most people didn't claim it on their taxes. But that is something that you're supposed to do. If there was ever a purchase you made that didn't request sales tax or include sales tax in the price, then you're supposed to pay that at the end of the year to catch up on your taxes. Now, once they understand your income, they still need to understand what deductions you qualify for. And there are a couple things that you need to confirm so they know what deductions you actually qualify for. The big one is your filing status. If you're going to be filing single, married, head of household, married but separate, whatever that is, it all has an effect on the deductions you qualify for. Now, you should have put in an amount of withholding that you want them to take out of your check at the beginning of the year, but the math that they use for that doesn't match perfectly. So even then, they're taking out a different amount than what the calculator would actually tell them to do at the end of the year. So you need to confirm to them what your actual status is and how you're filing, and that determines how much of a tax deduction you're going to get. You also need to confirm errors, and I would say in the modern day, this isn't very common. I don't think I've ever actually had an error on any of my tax forms, because so much of it is automated and built into payroll systems that it just spits out the amount that it should be, which is also a part of the reason I don't understand why it takes some companies 30 days to send you a W-2, but that's besides the point. So what we're really concerned with is making sure if you're working, maybe like a 1099, doing your freelance work and stuff, if somebody's manually entering in those numbers, you really want to confirm that they're putting it in right. Because if you made $500, but they mistakenly typed in 5,000, that of course has a significant impact on the taxes you're going to owe. So the IRS is also giving you a chance to verify the information they have and get it corrected before you actually file your taxes. Another thing that's huge is, of course, claiming credits, and this can vary depending on your situation. So for example, maybe you had a child, or maybe you went back to school, or maybe you bought an electric vehicle. All of these things qualify for a tax credit, and you need to put that in to make sure that your taxes are being calculated properly. And there are even cases where people don't make enough money to owe taxes. But if you put these tax credits in, they can still offer you a refund, and they're not going to do that automatically because obviously they don't know all of the credits that you qualify for. So this is why it's important, even if you don't think you made enough money for taxes, or maybe you didn't make any money, but you're in these situations where you have children or an electric car or something that qualifies you for these tax credits, you absolutely still want to file your taxes, because up to certain amounts for each of those credits, you are still eligible for a refund. Now, also, I want to remind you that you can file your taxes for free. And in general, I haven't seen anything significantly change in how taxes are being filed. I think the e-file option was probably like the biggest change that's happened in my lifetime. And I've been filing taxes for probably 20 years since I was a teenager. So that is the only thing that I really see different. In e-file, generally speaking, if you use TurboTax or HR Block or whatever tax software you're using, it's simply filling in a paper form for you and then either mailing it in or submitting it electronically so that you can get your paperwork submitted. So these are still papers that you can download, print off, handwrite, send in the mail for the cost of a postage stamp and get all of that submitted for completely free. There are a lot of services that offer it for free. Even the IRS themselves offer you an option to file your taxes completely for free. Now, a lot of this depends on how much money you make and how much help you want with filing your taxes. And that's why a lot of people like myself end up using software that kind of simplifies the process. It asks you all the extra questions and stuff to make sure you're qualifying for all the deductions you should. But if you're able and have something simple, especially like somebody that just has a simple W-2 employer tax form and that's all you're submitting, you should be able to file it for free in a lot of scenarios. So with that in mind, hopefully this answered the question of why we have to file taxes, even though it seems like the government knows all of this information anyway. Yes, I got caught up because it was actually easy to track in the paperwork I submitted. So they saw the miscalculation and corrected it, but they didn't necessarily know exactly how much taxes I should owe. That wasn't an accurate understanding of what they were sharing in that letter. So that's what I've been paying attention to. I know I'm paying a little bit of money to get my taxes done right, but that's for the convenience factor, not because it's necessary. So hopefully this answers all your questions, and thank you guys for stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.